Prakasha Hebe Brahma Jyoti Hakara tu Taba. Sitting fearlessly with a perfect asana. So first he says we need to sit fearlessly. How do we sit fearlessly?
I don't know. Is that a special position?
Open, vulnerable. We're just guessing, right?
I don't know. I mean, he says sit fearlessly. There has to be something with. It could just be making it rhyme, because if you notice, it's poetry. So, what do you know about when we sit? How should we sit?
With our spine straight.
Spine straight.
Heel against the Muladhara.
Well, that's a particular pose. You can. I mean, that's not a mandatory. That's Siddhasana. What else? What's important? How do we sit up straight?
With our hips back, our sit bones back.
Sit bones back. And what makes our sit bones go back?
Soft pillow.
So you're a little bit raised, so your knees are below your hips.
Knees are below the hip points. Key. Are your knees below your hip points right now? Namaskar. But did you see that? You were about to do some meditation and those knees were higher. Knee should be, the hip point, that little bone that sticks out, the knee should be lower than that. Knee below the hip point. What else?
Let's see, spine straight.
Spine straight.
Mind clear. Yeah.
The mind will be clear. Actually, the mind will naturally become clear if you sit properly. If you sit 100% perfectly, the mind will just be empty. The sitting perfectly takes years of understanding subtle dynamics. What else? Anybody know anything else?
How about the shoulders back? Like not like this, but
Okay,
like
shoulders back.
shoulders are back.
Should they be really far back?
No.
What happens if they're really far back?
And the spine's not straight.
What part of the spine? You end up crunching the back. But if we're hunching like this, then we end up hurting the lower back. So,
Chin tucked in.
chin tucked in,
A little bit.
not a lot.
A little bit.
Is it better to have it too much in or too much out? We're going to.
Too much out.
You think too much out?
Yeah.
It's better to have
It's hard to overdo the in chin in.
You think who has
But it's
good
easy
view
to
of
overdo.
that?
better to do too much in.
Too much in. Why?
Well, because it is the tendency to stick out and that. So it's better to try.
Just because it's the tendency?
Well,
It stays straighter this way versus if you're out like that.
Okay.
It's not
Take your
straight.
hand. Take your hand and put it behind your neck. Now, take your hand out. What's happening? It's squishing, right? Take your chin in.
It's lengthening.
Definitely.
Lengthening. Where's your spine?
Where?
It's on the back side, right?
Mhm.
So if we're too far in, we're just stretching a little bit more. If we're too far out, we're actually crunching the cervical spine. So that chin in is going to elongate that cervical spine. Feel that difference?
Yeah, that's what we were saying. It's not as technical, right?
If you're crunching the cervical spine, all of a sudden the energy is just going to there and you're blocking the energy, and there's going to be thoughts based on the throat chakra related things. You know, by having that spine in its perfect alignment, the energy is going right to the crown chakra and it's being quiet.
So if you're not sitting properly, if you're hunched over, then the energy's going to stop up around the second or third chakra. God knows what we'll be thinking
Yeah,
about
so if
then.
your knees are too high, are higher than this, then you're crunching over your lower back, and the energy's not leaving right here, just by having your knees too high. It's pretty. Okay. Do we have another? Can you grab a pillow over there for him? There's extra ones, right? Okay. One other thing, which I could spend probably 3 days just talking about sitting, but take your hands over your head. Now reach up and imagine the point from the hip point to the ribs lengthening as you reach up. And notice that from the back, you could lift that up, you'll come a little bit forward, or you could lift the front ribs up, and that's going to take you a little bit back. So what we're doing is we're looking for a balance between the front lift, the back lift, and the side lifts. Now lower your hands down really slow, keeping that lift. You feel a little difference in how you're sitting? A little bit more fearless, huh? The chest is held high. Very strong position. Okay, so I think that's enough of asana. But, so, sitting fearlessly. Pierce your mind into the Amana Mandira. Amana Mandira. Pierce the mind into the Amana Mandira.
The temple of the not mind.
Temple of the not mind. Where's the temple of the not mind?
That's the void.
Beyond the mind.
How do we pierce our mind into it? How do we pierce our mind into it, Mary?
Focus on nothingness.
How do we focus on nothingness? Where's nothingness to focus on? Slightly lifting the eyes and looking up towards the third eye. Not over too much, but slightly looking up. This is unmana, or amana. It's piercing or sambhavi mudra, it's sometimes called. Looking up in here is closing the mind. Or it's creating no mind. Amana. Everybody feel that elongation, looking slightly up? You feel the mind just going a little bit more quiet? Now, let's just take a minute. Feel your tongue. Look down at the ground. What's the tongue do? Look up at the ceiling. What's the tongue do?
Reverses.
Look down at... Just feel it for a minute. Look down at the ground. Look up at the ceiling. Can you feel a slight difference happening in the tongue? Look down. The tongue is doing what? Looking down.
It's kind of depressed and resting.
It just drops in the mouth. When we look up,
It raises.
it gets tense. It's almost like it's active. It's lifting up. We want to increase that lift and actually take the tongue up to the top of the mouth. We're only increasing what's naturally occurring by looking up. Now in the mouth, just behind the teeth, if you take your tongue and push just behind the teeth. Anybody know what that is?
Dental.
Yeah, that's earth element. Root chakra.
Behind the teeth?
Just behind
Just
just
behind the
where
teeth?
the teeth hit the gums.
Okay.
The gums and teeth hit. That's earth element. Then we go up, slide the tongue just back a little bit until you hit that little ridge that goes in. That's water element. We're going to go to the top of the mouth. That's fire element. A little bit farther back. Air element. And then it's back as far as you can go. That's Akash, space element. What's happening to your chin, Jane? So, a tendency, but
water, fire.
yeah, goes right on back. So we want to take it back into the Akash. So lift it up as back as you can.
So are you going to the soft part behind where the palate, like right where the two openings are?
If you're really good, you know the little thing that hangs in the back of your throat, you actually take your tongue and you put it behind that.
So you're holding your tongue, basically?
But that takes years of practice.
Without throwing up.
That just doesn't make you throw up.
Touching the uvula?
Yeah, you put the tongue behind it.
You can't even put it in front
But
of it.
you gotta stretch you gotta practice over long periods of time to stretch that. But so any which way, as far back as you can, until your tongue gets stretched enough, it's not going to actually hit that Akash tattva point. So you're reaching for that Akash. Basically, you're in the throat chakra reaching for that third eye until that tongue lengthens long enough to get it back there. Which Baba Hari Das once made a joke. He said, you know when you can reach back that far, when your tongue, you can stick it out and touch the tip of your nose. And then he made the strangest joke I'd ever heard him made. He said, except for Jews, they got to reach farther because their noses are so big. I was in shock. But pretty crazy, huh?
Actually, you don't have to reach as far if your nose is big.
No,
That's
you
what I
do,
mean.
because
That's what I mean. He said they got to reach farther than just the tip of their nose.
Oh.
And this is, a 70-year-old, Baba Hari Das, yeah?
He's not raised in a politically correct culture.
Yeah, I guess, but any which way.
True.
Anybody touch the tip of their nose?
Be
Yep.
real.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, can you go behind your uvula? Not yet. Okay. So, let's take our hands up again, because I think you all lost it, huh? Reach up, sides, back, front. Make sure those knees are lower than the hip points. Lower the hands down slowly to keep that lift. If you drop your hands, it's harder to keep it. We keep that lift. We look up and we raise the tongue up. So this is sitting fearlessly, piercing the Amana Mandira. Okay? It's first verse. Pierce your mind into the Amana Mandira. Meditate on the Jyoti Brahma by breathing the prana slowly. Okay. So, next step is we're going to slow the breath down. And we're going to meditate. When you start looking up, you'll start seeing light. And at first, that light is just the... and you can shut your eyes when you look up. The eyes don't have to be open. Whatever's more comfortable. But the important thing is that the perception is internal, not external. You'll see when you're looking up, you'll start to see lights, flashes. Part of it's just the pressure of the retina going on. But if you meditate on that light, you'll go through and there'll be eventually a light that's a little bit more stabilizing. Anybody ever meditate on this light before? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Which tradition who studied which traditions? Different traditions call it different things.
Kriya Yoga.
Kriya Yoga, what do they call it?
They call it Kriya.
Yeah, but what do they call the light?
I forget. It's been a long time.
It just happens in my meditation.
Just happens in your meditations, you never...
I don't know the name either.
Mm-hmm. It's called the whole of Brahma in the Kriya tradition. So we're meditating on the Jyoti Brahma and we're slowing down the breath. Okay, let's practice the next line a little bit. Lengthen up, tuck the chin in, pierce the temple of no mind, and meditate on the Jyoti Brahma, God as light, slowing the breath down. tongue, slowly opening the eyes. Anybody seeing anything happen to that light? Anybody noticing anything? It's there. Everybody can see that it's not just dark. There's light. According to some, that light is actually the movement of your mind, and it should be a clear dark. I don't know if that's true or not because I've never got to a point where I see just clear dark. But this is what some say.
Clear dark?
There shouldn't be just lights flashing all over. It should just be one light.
Okay.
What do you say?
Like a sun.
Like a sun, not all over.
Just radiant. Yeah.
Good. Now that one center light, if you look, it's generally... I'll read the Chuta first. Okay. By breathing slowly. So meditate on the Jyoti Brahma by breathing slowly. Then the Jyoti Brahma would be seen in a beautiful spectrum of white, yellow, blue, and red. An extremely bright spherical manifestation would arise. Mark therein the Brahma Jyoti. Being introduced to it, you would be bright, O my son. I have told you everything in detail. Now this is a Chuta talking about Jyoti sadhana, meditating on the light. So in here he says it's spherical. So we see it as a spherical light. In general, it's seen almost as a circle, and that circle has various colors of light in it. And the center is not actually. There's no light in the actual center generally when it stabilizes. It's just a circle. Do you meditate on this with Babaji?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. And one of my teachers once said, when you're meditating on it, because, there's all these people practicing shamanism these days. And shamanism, there's the hole and you jump through it and you go to a different world and this. And he said, you don't jump through the hole. You just meditate on it. No jumping. It's just meditating on that light, that center. So you see, Achyuta's teaching similar realities to... Okay. Who knows the Jyoti Brahma mantra?
We already knew it.
Huh?
I said I bet we already knew it.
What's your name, by the way?
Srinivas.
Srinivas. Have you been here before? Okay, first time. Auspicious lecture to come the first time. Jyoti Brahma.
Hare Rama Krishna.
That's the Janaka Sadakshari mantra. Sadakshari, 6-syllable. Janaka is King Janaka. It's a 6-syllable mantra given by Janaka. Hare Rama Krishna. Now, official Sanskrit, it should be Jyotir Brahma. Jyotir Brahma. But because this is Odia, it's Jyoti Brahma. There's no R. There's the it's a different kind of grammatical rules.
Oh. I'm guessing.
Om, Shreem, and now it's been taught multiple ways. The way Visti and I learned it, and the way any which way. Om, Shreem. Shreem, everybody knows Shreem, right? And then it's Dalim. D-H-L. Dalim. Dalim. Da. Dalim. Dalim. Om Shreem Dalim. Jyoti Brahmaya Nama. So,
What book are you using?
this is just some translation of Achyuta stuff. It's I picked up a book on literary traditions in Orissa, and because Achyutananda in Orissa, he's known a little bit. According to scholars, they study him a little bit more for the poetic side, because he wrote everything in as poetry. So he's known for that. In the 1500s, 1600s, there was a renaissance in Orissa, huge renaissance of literary renaissance, and him and his four other, the Panchasakha together, they literally changed the whole consciousness of that state, which then was a country of its own at that time. And so he's, in literary studies, he's translated for that purpose. And so they're like, look, he's talking about these spiritual things. And they translate a little bit. And,
is the Dalim like a duh? D-A-H?
D-H.
D-H.
Yeah, duh. It's, the duh is coming from the navel. Duh. Duh. So when you say it, your navel's going in. Duh. It's not duh coming from the throat. It's duh. Duh.
Is the stream with an H or
Same normal stream.
or is it stream?
Normal stream, like Lakshmi stream.
No,
Shri.
in South we have like we usually don't pronounce the H. It's like stream instead of stream.
Oh no, there's an H.
Shri.
Yeah, stream. Lakshmi Bija.
Mm.
Yeah. Shri Devi. Om Shrim Gleam Jyoti Brahmaya Namaha. When Sarbani says it, she puts it into proper Sanskrit, which is a little different, the Sanskrit grammar. Same bijas though. But this is how Achyuta's sharing it with us. So let's do our Om. Then we'll chant this mantra a few times, and then we'll pierce the Amana Mandira and meditate on the Jyoti Brahma. Okay? Who are rishis? Bhardwaj. Om Atriye Namaha. Together evenly. Time. Ah is vibrating the lower part of the body. Ooh, the middle part of the body. The upper part of the body. Inside reciting Om Shrim Tlim Jyoti Brahmaya Namah. Om Shrim Tlim Jyoti Brahmaya Namah. Om Shrim Tlim Jyoti Brahmaya Namah. Inside repeating that mantra.
that sound?
Yeah, you can.
Is that Bell Jupiter? No?
Akash.
Akash.
It's particularly for Akash Tattva. On a level of
So
Tattva.
it's a dental, I forget which one, but it's in that dental row of Sanskrit.
It's the aspirate dental.
Aspirate dental?
Yeah. Now that's a Jyotish teacher who's teaching you to meditate directly on the light, right? Achyuta, because we have to do that Jyoti sadhana to understand the light. And the way I learned it was when we perfect that mantra, we have the ability to actually look at somebody and see the light in them, or see the potential for light in them, and help guide them to that light. Very powerful, important mantra. How I actually learned this mantra was Achyuta teaches a chaya sadhana, where you actually look at someone's shadow and you can see all their problems and issues.
Is it chaya or achaya?
Chaya.
Chaya. Okay.
Chaya, shadow, like chaya graha.
Okay.
You look at their shadow and you can see all the negativities, all their flaws and bad things they do. You just look at their shadow, you say the mantra and you can see. And I was like, Guruji, teach me how to do this mantra. And he said, well, first perfect this. Be able to see the light in people first, and then we'll talk about the chaya mantra. And eventually I got the chaya mantra, but I haven't practiced it. Maybe one of these days, but like after you do the Jyoti mantra, it's you see, guide people to the light. Why look at their issues? It's right.
Yeah, the light will get rid of the darkness.
Should, but Achyuta teaches us both. Any questions on that?
And Shri and Harper.
When do we do it?
In the mornings,
When?
sunrise, when the light comes.
But what about the 50 other mantras we're supposed to do at that time?
You compress time and space and do it. Or expand it, one or the other. That brings in the love.
Yeah, where in our sadhana should that, you have to say your Ishta mantra in the morning. You have to say some Guru mantras in the morning.
Do it before you do a chart.
You're going to be doing, we can do it before we do a chart. But if we're going to do it every day, a little bit, when?
Written Jaya mantra, of course. We'll do that every day.
Do that one too.
And then the Saturn
I
mantra
do.
is for
I primarily
Get rid
do.
of all our
When I
problems.
practice my Mrityunjaya mantra in the evenings myself. And I got enough in the morning. I mean, if I sneeze before I walk out the front door, then I'll go back and do some Mrityunjaya, but otherwise.
So would you do this one before reading charts?
You can do it before reading the charts.
But it should be done in the morning?
Mornings are it's generally associated, it's generally best practice in the morning.
Okay.
But where in all the other mantras should it go? Should it be the first thing?
No.
Last thing? Middle?
I thought Hare Rama Krishna was the first one.
That's right.
So you know it's not first. I think it should go after your Guru mantra.
Exactly. It's generally I practice it after the Guru mantras.
So the Ishtas are number 2, the Gurus are number 3, and this is number 4.
Say that again?
Hare Rama Krishna is 1.
Okay.
Ishta mantra is 2, the Guru mantra is 3, and then this one is 4. And this is called the light mantra?
Jyoti Brahma.
Jyoti Brahma.
Jyoti is light, Brahma is God. You could say the light of God, you could say God as light. Depending on your belief.
So this would be number 4. 4?
It ends up being around number 17 or something, but you know, about that, yeah. That's it's good to understand where these, you know, where can I put this in and the order, or else you have a bunch and it's all jumbled.
That's right, it's confusing.
Yeah. Okay.
That's good.
So that should be a primary question. When do I do this? How much do I do it?
108 times.
1 round.
1 round, at least. But since it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 syllables, we should do 6 rounds.
Every morning?
Yeah, if you have time.
Generally, this is a mantra
It's 6
that
words.
this is a mantra that at some point in time you do sadhana of,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it comes time to practice, you do it a few times, you do some of the meditation, and it's but we have to empower the mantra eventually. At the moment, you do it a little bit, meditate.
It looks like 1, 2.
Hey Mo. Mo just
11.
missed the Jyoti Brahma mantra. Sad is more than, you know.
No pressure.
Somebody sit with Mo and Fern after when we have a break and kind of do your best to fill them in, so they can practice as well. Though, you know, they miss a little bit of the experiential. So at the moment, just do it a few times, meditate on the Jyoti Brahma. Eventually, Visi did the mathematical calculations. I think it's 10. It's either, I think it's 100,000 or 10,000 times malas to actually get siddhi of the mantra, to fully empower it at its highest level. I've never done that. I've done the multiple rounds, so many days, periods, but I was actually planning, you know, sometime soon to do the full 10 lakh reality. But at the moment, just do it a little bit and do the meditation. You felt it already. It has a very profound effect in and of itself, even when you don't have siddhi. So you can just imagine what having siddhi of the mantra would actually do, right? So I have in front of me, changing the subject.